So welcome to our Mainstreet Masters series presented by Mainstreet SA. I'm David West, your host, and today we're talking to Mileyka Burgos-Flores, the CEO of the Allapattah Collaborative CDC in Miami. Mileyka recently won a very prestigious Main Street America Award, the Mary Means Leadership Award, that recognises individuals that demonstrate outstanding leadership in preservation-based economic development and commercial district revitalisation.
Thank you so much for your kindness and for inviting me to this beautiful platform. It's great to be here with you today.
Thank you. Can you please tell us about your career path and how setting up more organisation in Miami through the Main Street program?
Sure. So this was totally unintended. This is not the way that I thought my life was going to go when I was 20 years old or when I just graduated from the University of Miami. I came to Miami because I got a scholarship to go to the University of Miami. I used to live in Boston, came down to go to school here, fell in love with a Dominican community in Miami called Little Santa Domingo that is located in Allapattah, which is a neighborhood within the city of Miami. It literally it's a neighborhood that embraces you and just really makes you feel like home. Even if you've been there just for 5 minutes and it just really felt like home to me. I started volunteering and helping. But as time went by, we started seeing displacement happen and the locals started to be very apprehensive about what's happening, like demolitions and people being evicted or not really evicted, just really asked to leave because the building has been sold and so on. So we created an equitable development action plan. And basically it was, the will of the community of the small business owners that have built this commercial corridor for over 30, 40 years. They seen people departing and like, no, we got to do something because this is our patrimony. We don't want to leave. We want to make sure that we stay in this community and that this is something that our future generations can see, especially being a Dominican enclave here in the city of Miami. So we started doing an equitable development action plan. And after that document was completed, we then, they asked me to continue to lead the charge and to start a 501c3 nonprofit. And as part of the plan, Main Street was one of those strategies that worked so well for organizing the community and to truly focus on that 4-point approach. So about and the funny thing is that as soon as we finished in 2018 and we started working in 2019, then we got the pandemic. So all the plans that we had to change because then we had to focus on helping the small businesses survive the pandemic. And I can tell you that one of the reasons why maybe I have been so lucky to receive this award is because we worked so hard with these businesses to make sure that we not lose any business in our commercial corridor during the pandemic, helping them with the financial assistance, helping them with legal services, making sure that they stay put because they are the core of our community.
So, of course, you must have faced many challenges, and you've just said the COVID, of course, which affected us worldwide, all the main streets across the world. What other challenges did you face to actually try and bring people together and bring them together to share your vision?
I think that the most notable challenge that we face is trust. I think that when people, there's something that I call extractive research. People go to a community, they do this research, they do these focus groups, they learn so much about them, they learn about the problem, but they don't come back with a solution. And it was like a culture shock that we
Mm.
surveyed the community, work with the community on the problem, on the solutions, that we did all this work but that we did not leave. We actually stayed and rolled up our sleeves and made sure that we were part of that solution, of implementing the solutions that they have found themselves to be something that is going to uplift the community and make sure that they stay in place.
I know reading some of the wonderful material about what you've done there is, can you just talk about the identity, the culture, pride, and leadership and how they're connected, please?
Oh, wow, definitely. So identity builds culture, culture builds confidence, and confidence builds leadership. I think that that it's a human sense of belonging. We all want to belong to something. It's part of our human nature. And when we understand that we belong to something, that something is a culture. It's not only the country that you come from, It could be the religion. It could be something that you're really interested in. Like I'm a baseball fan through and through. So baseball is a culture for us to go into the ballpark, things that you do at the ballpark. So once you identify yourself as something that really makes you happy, that really makes you feel that you belong, that really builds an identity, builds you up and gives you that confidence to do something in that arena. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to build up our community members, our community, and for them to show pride in the things that we build together.
I was going to say, when you were looking at developing a model and you're trying to get like a collective ownership model, what features were you looking for?
Stewardship. Stewardship is really important because what something that I am very clear is that there's many people who came before me and I'm standing in their shoulders, on their shoulders. So there's people that are gonna come after me, and we need to build that leadership that are gonna continue the work that we're doing today. So we want to make sure that we have an ownership model that, number one, allows the businesses to feel the level of ownership where they have agency of their future. Because when you talk about small businesses, specifically in America, it's about that dream of sending your kid to a specific school, or making sure that you pay for the ballet classes, or making sure that you
Mm.
send them to basketball practice, or whatever it is that they're doing, making sure that you have the means to have your family move forward successfully. That's what a business means. It's not many of the businesses that we have in the corridor, they don't want another branch. They don't want to expand to have, three more restaurants. They are happy with this one restaurant that if you want to experience, you got to come to our neighborhood to experience. They don't want to expand. They want to make sure that they have a successful, manageable business that gives their family the things that they need. So making sure that they're able to participate in that level of ownership so they can reach those goals that they have personally for their family was another important goal. But also making sure that human greed doesn't destroy what we're doing with such much good faith. Not having
Mhm.
someone come and take the benefit of buying something at a discounted rate, or a price that is beneficial for community to come and own, and then sell it at five times the price, which is what happens in Miami, right? So I want to make sure that we have a stewardship structure where people are able to number one, maintain it for the long term, but also that they're able um to be really responsible in stewarding it in a way that everybody is connected and nobody is like walking away in a way that is going to be disruptive to the rest.
So that flows on then. Can you talk about your definition of economic empowerment?
I think that economic empowerment is your ability for self-determination and agency. When we talk about that, we talk about policy. What is the policies that allow us to have more businesses here in Miami? What are the policies that allow us to start small? Because I was just talking to the City of Miami Economic Development Department today about we need to find ways that people can start businesses with a little bit of money. We don't need to have $50,000 to start a brand new business. You are preventing new businesses from happening. And what I said is like people are not gonna not start the business. They're just gonna start it without permits. They're gonna start it,
Mm.
in a very informal manner, and it's not to your benefit because they're keeping you out of the loop. So how do we create an environment that is more business friendly, not necessarily for big corporations, but for the mom and pops that are putting food on the table? Because in Miami, we start new businesses because of necessity.
So can you talk about the relationship then between those small businesses you're talking about and the culture of an area, and just how that builds up the cultural fabric?
Yes, of course. I think that when we talk about anti-displacement and community development, the small businesses become a third space. It becomes a place where people meet, the coffee shop, the barber shop. It's that place where we all come together, the pizza joint that the kids go after school, or the ice cream shop that they visit after school. Those are third spaces. Sometimes we don't even have public parks or infrastructure that is close by where that allows people to gather in the way that they gather in some of these businesses. So aside from it being the fact that, everybody knows each other because it's a very tight-knit community, but also having that third space and having that place that identifies the community. Um, it's really important.
And I was going to say too, that you created the Small Business Resilience Cohort. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the Small Business Resilience Cohort is a program that was created specifically to help small businesses during the pandemic. We felt that businesses know how to do their craft, but the business management was really lacking. We were trying to apply for um, grants and dollars or even apply for loans and not having the financial documentation, the business acumen that they needed to have, and the compliance measures that they needed to have made it really hard for them to have access to capital so they can rebuild after the pandemic. So we created the small business resiliency cohort to allow them to number one, help them financially, but also connect them to services and make sure that they can improve their business in a very sustainable manner. And then after the first one, which is like a mini MBA, like a fundamentals of business, the second piece is actually working on their e-commerce, is working on their marketing, is making sure that they have that piece of their business very tight, or their accounting. Because many of them were still doing their accounting with a notebook. Every sales, jogging it down on a
Yes.
notebook, doing the math at the end of the day. We are in 2024. That's definitely not the way we should be doing things today. And then taking that notebook to a bookkeeper at the end of the year. So 12 months of that to be able to do their taxes. So it was just really inefficient for them to have profit and loss statements and all the documentation that they need to have, and really have access to capital. So SBRC was a great tool for us to prepare businesses to be able to have access to capital, but also for them to understand that a business has to run itself.
Yes.
If you need to be there, you don't have a business. You have a job or a gig or something because you need to be able to take vacations. It's a system. A business is a system. A business is not something that you need to tend to 24/7.
So you're taking it to a more resilient level. And I think that flows on to the next question. So you've had issues there with displacement, business displacement. So how does that happen?
Well, the way that that happens is by people buying buildings. Um, Usually, I think, let me take a step back and say that many times our businesses did not have a lease that benefited them, or that was very well vetted before they signed it. So, for example, if I was to have a lease, I want to have a first right of refusal if the seller ever wants to, if the owner ever wants to sell it, because that storefront has an image. People know me because I am here, and moving the business, it's like starting brand new. Like, that's the one thing about storefronts, that it's about location, location, location. So many of them did not have a lease that prevented that from happening, or that even informed them that that the building was for sale, or so on. The rents went up very high because we have increases up to 260% in less than
Well,
18 months. So when your rent increase cuts into your profit so much that it's not feasible to have your business, you have to let it go. And those are some of the things that are kind of displacing businesses. Some of them have had to take a cut in what they take home. Some of them had to bring another business into their own business and like share the space so they can pay the lease, because at the end of the day, if they stop doing that, what are they going to do? They've been doing this for 20 years. They've been doing this for such a long time that now this is the thing. Starting again would be detrimental for them, their families, and also for the community.
so it sounds like you're just lifting them to a more professional level, making sure their businesses are sustainable in the longer term, and really sort of dealing with the issues, some of the base issues that they've got to handle, and also the progressive promotional sort of issues about marketing and getting out there and talking to their customers.
Yeah, that's the level of resiliency, but also creating an environment where they have the financial capability to purchase their storefront. So as an organization, as a Main Street organization, one of our biggest impetus is being able to buy the buildings in the community. So we could be the land trust, let's call it, right? Where we own the buildings and they own the storefronts. So we can own the land, they own their storefronts, they are the legit owner of their storefronts. They don't have to pay millions of dollars, which is the price of the buildings, but that place that they've been stewarding for decades for their family is then theirs. We call it like a condominium kind of type of agreement, right?
Okay.
That they own their space, their bay, but it's like it's commonly owned. That way, they can get into the ownership game at a much lower rate than if they had to buy the whole building.
It's very interesting though. How do you blend together like often the residents and the community will have sort of conflicting objectives in the business community. How do you sort of blend them together so that they can see that there's a common sort of outcome here?
Well, many times when we like every Miami has a grave issue of housing supply, affordable housing, and so on. And everybody just wants housing, housing, housing. And I think that the way that we've approached that is that we want to have an equitable and balanced approach where we have community planning. And within that community planning, we can understand what are the needs that, how many residents are we? How many more are we expecting? What is the housing shortage? What is the amenities shortage? What are the things that we need to have for different age groups in our community so we can have a more robust community? We have a lot of seniors in our community. So what are those things that we need to do to have a healthy environment for everybody to enjoy the community?
Well, I think it's a great outcome that you've actually achieved there. And the community that came to you also went to Boston and New York, but then came to Miami from the Dominican Republic and then set up business. And it just sort of created this lovely enclave in Miami.
Yes, so the Dominican community came from Dominican Republic in the late 70s, 80s, some during the 60s. There was an American invasion in Dominican Republic in 75 and 65. So some of that was a remnant of this, but then the community we had a unfortunate event in the community of riots in Miami, and in the wake of all of that, it was a devastated community. It was just a very empty community. And these new immigrants just took it up onto themselves to open up shops and start doing a new life in this community, and making it as colorful as their home country, and creating a microcosm, a microeconomy that really served them in their needs. At that moment, we spoke a lot more English in Miami than we do today. There's a lot of Spanish being spoken today. But when they were newly immigrants, they did not speak the language. They would not, so they actually did for themselves. And that's something beautiful that then got honored by the city of Miami, how, different communities are able to pick up parts of Miami to just revitalize it in this manner.
And so you've also managed to combine the resources of the local municipality, like the local council, and the government is supporting you as well. Like it's more of a partnership approach.
Yes, that is what we always aim to do with the city of Miami, a partnership approach, as well as with Miami-Dade County. Yes.
So thank you very much for your time. If people want to learn more about the community there in Allapattah, please look at allapattahcdc.org and you'll see a lot of information there about how Mileyka and her team have actually brought together a really strong community and they're looking at developing the economy in that area and making their main streets really strong and helping the local community and the business community at the same time. So it's been fabulous. So thank you so much, Mileyka. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join you in this platform, and I hope to visit you soon.